Well, it's August, which means it's the last full month of the summer. August is also named after the Roman Emperor Augustus Caesar. And speaking of royalty, it's time for our monthly visit with Fireman Kenny.
WPLG715 Fireman Kenny's on the air, helping you to stay safe in a world where danger never takes a vacation. And thank you to all 13 of our loyal listeners who are tuning into the show. As you may have noticed, Fireman Jeremy, who is a friend of the show, is filling in as co-host for this month's episode. Jeremy, thank you for filling in as this month's guest host.
Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this great Fireman Kenny show. Your message of safety and outreach is critical to the community and across the region. As we know, safety is not just a word, it's a way of life. Thank you for keeping us safe, Kenny.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. So those of you who haven't heard Jeremy's previous episode with the WCTC DEA program, Jeremy and I have been friends, well, for sure my entire adult life. And so Jeremy is just a few years younger, and we knew each other from his time at Blair's True Value Hardware store. And he was also a member of the Butler Volunteer Fire Department when I was on. So thank you to the Wauwatosa Fire Department for hosting this month's show, as well as Battalion Chief Jeremy Blair for filling in. As my 13 loyal listeners are well aware, one episode early in the month is in the former WIBD format. The show would like to honor the memory of the late Rick Jensen by continuing the show in the same format as when we're on the first Tuesday of the month on Magna Media's WIBD, which is now WRYU. Thank you to Magna Media for allowing Rick to allow us to talk about community risk reduction topics on the Community Conversation segment for almost 7 years. The Fireman Kenny Show would not exist if it wasn't for Rick Jensen and Magna Media. Once the call letters and format changed in January of 2024, Rick continued to host the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts until his untimely death earlier this year. If you are in the West Bend and Cedarburg area, be sure to listen to Magna Media's WRYU on 101.3 and 93.9 FM, as well as 1470 AM. If you are outside the area, you can live stream the station's website, rockwryu.com, or you can listen on Alexa by saying, "Alexa, play WRYU." Also, be sure to follow, like, and subscribe to the Fireman Kenny Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or whatever platform you're listening to the show. Be sure to follow the Fireman Kenny Show on Facebook for updates on the show, as well as information on future guests. And this show is looking for sponsors as well. If you would like to sponsor the Fireman Kenny Show podcast, feel free to contact us for potential sponsorship opportunities. We will mention the National Fire Sprinkler Association when we talk about NFSA reported sprinkler saves. We're also listing Fire Suppression Solutions as one of our sponsors for the fire suppression tools, or the FSTs, that were donated to fire departments throughout the nation. Here's a word from our sponsor.
Fire can strike without warning, leaving you with precious little time to react. And if you are not prepared, the damage can be devastating to life and property. In the blink of an eye, your home or business could be on fire, with flames doubling in size every 30 seconds, leaving you helpless and unable to respond. Don't let this nightmare become a reality. That starts with being prepared. Our fire suppression products are designed to equip you with an effective response to any fire emergency, all while limiting additional damage, making you the true first responder, giving you the peace of mind that you have what you need to keep your loved ones and property safe until more help comes. Do you have a plan to respond to a fire emergency at your home or business? Protect your family, pets, and property with the tools from Fire Suppression Solutions. Contact us today and finish putting your plan into effect before it's too late.
For more information on Fire Suppression Solutions, you can visit firess.us.
So, Kenny, do we have any of your regularly monthly shout-outs to people who have helped the fire service?
Yeah, so our first shout out goes to Kevin Gerarden. Kevin is a retired lieutenant from the Oshkosh Fire Department who also held the position of executive secretary for the Wisconsin Society of Emergency Services Instructor. Kevin recently retired from that position after 13 years. Kevin had a solid commitment as a fire service instructor and taught at Fox Valley Technical College. Kevin's dedication to improving fire and EMS instruction in the state of Wisconsin will be greatly missed. Congratulations to Mark Hill on his appointment as the new executive secretary.
Well, that's fantastic. Kevin had some great accomplishments there. Is he continuing to do anything in the fire service, or is he deciding to hang it up?
I don't know. I haven't really talked to him, but I'll have to find out. I'm sure that, as we all know, old firefighters never really go away. They always have something to do with the fire service, and Kevin's accomplishments are so great. I hope he continues on. Our second one, thank you to Peter Matthews from Firehouse Magazine for focusing on the efforts of our guest host on the latest episode of the Firehouse Yak. Jeremy Blair and Courtney Hull were interviewed about the efforts for preparing Gen Z for careers in the fire service. You can listen to that episode by visiting firehouse.com.
Well, thanks for mentioning that, Kenny. It was a nice opportunity to spend time with Peter and get to know him a little bit and their mission over at Firehouse Magazine, as well as talk about our passion of growing this next generation of future firefighters, and also finding and talking about ways to connect not just the Gen Z generation, but all generations as we move forward in the fire service.
Fire service recruitment has been an issue for quite some time. Not an issue that we ever had when we were growing up. As a matter of fact, when we were on the Butler Volunteer Fire Department, there was a waiting list for volunteers. Now there's so few people that are willing and or able to be able to be volunteer firefighters, which was our main source of cultivation for full-time firefighters. And now there's even fewer people available and or willing to be able to be full-time firefighters and firefighter paramedics. And so it's kind of new to the fire service. This was something that I had undertaken when Chief Kudik came to me one day and said, I'm putting you in charge of recruiting. So I ended up going to way more recruiting events than any time in the West Bend Fire Department history. So it is a really great thing that WCTC is doing. It's great that you and Courtney are out there really promoting this and making the public aware that there is an issue with firefighter recruitment and retention, and really making sure that we are bringing that next generation to the point where they are great firefighters and paramedics.
Yeah, I agree, Kenny. And, recruitment's not just a problem for the fire service, it's across all industries. And we're just trying to play our part and helping departments and organizations become more forward-facing. Like you mentioned, back in the day, people were coming to the fire station looking for a job. Now it's kind of shifted where fire departments are becoming more forward-facing and marketing themselves on different platforms to create an energy for folks to come in the front door. So we're helping support that. We actually started a presentation called What's Your Welcome? And it's just it's another look of what departments can do to become more attractive to members coming through the front door. And what's that look like once they're inside the front door? What's the culture of when someone new walks in through the front door? It's that first impression, and it's not just a first impression of the person walking through the door, but they're also making an impression about the department. So department's taking an opportunity to pause, reflect on what's the next steps for someone who walks through that front door, and how are you going to create that interest so they possibly could be a person working for you someday.
One of the things that Courtney had mentioned when we did the interview for this show was the fact that she felt so welcome when she came to West Bend to do her ride-alongs for her paramedic class. And that's one of the things I think that the West Bend Fire Department is really proud of, is the fact that we are so welcoming and people fit in right away, and we have a lot of great experiences with the people that do come and do ride-alongs or get hired by the West Bend Fire Department. And last, we should also recognize some of the other podcasts that need to get some love and attention. So if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can listen to Inside the Firehouse with Stevens Point Fire Department Lieutenant Ben Schultz and Deputy Fire Marshal Justin Malin. The duo tackles a range of topics and interviews a number of guests to help promote safety and community risk reduction. Jenny Blanker from Aspirus Health was interviewed on the latest episode about trauma care in Wisconsin. And the Forward Firefighter podcast with Dan Retzlaff. The show has a wide range of topics for the fire service in Wisconsin. The most recent episode interviews April Hammond from the Department of Safety and Professional Services.
Well, that's great, Kenny. I mean, Inside the Firehouse, I have not listened to that one yet, but I think I'll add that to the list. And I think it's great that you're networking with so many different people to bring a variety of topics to the show. And anytime somebody can put in a podcast for that 20, 30-minute drive, I think it really helps make the time go by quick, but you're also learning something as you're moving along.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm hoping that by promoting the other fire service podcasts, people are going to listen to these shows because there's way too many conspiracy theory, cold case, and paranormal activity podcasts out there that we're competing against, and we're competing against other people's time. But hopefully you're listening to these other shows involving the fire service that not only can fire service personnel learn something about what's going on in the fire service, but the general public can learn something about safety that's going to save their lives. And then, of course, we have to thank the guests who have been on the Fireman Kenny Show over the past month. So we would like to thank retired West Allis Fire Department Lieutenant Kevin Brode, who is friend of the show and was guest host for the July episode. West Bend Police Department Lieutenant Brian McAndrews was interviewed on vehicle theft prevention tips for Vehicle Theft Prevention Month. Lyn Schuh and Dr. Lisa Converse from the Operational Canine Medical Team of Wisconsin, who are on the show to talk about medical treatment they provide to working canines, as well as training to first responders to treat injured working dogs. And Leawood, Kansas Fire Department Division Chief Brittany Brown spoke on incorporating an ordinance for residential fire sprinkler systems. If you hadn't had a chance to listen to these fantastic interviews, you can search the Fireman Kenny Show to listen to these great guests.
What a great lineup you have here. And another shout out to Kevin Brode. Kevin and I go way back, Town of Brookfield days. And it's great to see him moving on into retirement. But as like any other firefighter or paramedic who retires, he's still going to remain in the industry. He's, I think, still teaching out at college. Kenny, I know you spent a great deal of time tracking fires that were suppressed by fire sprinkler systems. What do you have for fire sprinkler saves this month?
So we have our monthly sprinkler saves, or otherwise known as fires you never hear about, because there is no news in something that was stopped from happening. As I pointed out, I'm an advocate of fire sprinkler systems and a dues-paying member of the National Fire Sprinkler Association, www.nfsa.org. Be sure to follow the National Fire Sprinkler Association on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And like I've talked about before, there's nothing sexy about a puddle of water, so there is usually no promotion on the media for these events. So if you are promoting sprinkler saves, be sure in Wisconsin to send me them. And also, if you're going to be on your social media feeds for your organization, be sure to tag the National Fire Sprinkler Association in the post so they can share it. So we have two from the Oconto Fire Department. Thank you to Lieutenant Cody Henry for sending these. On Saturday, July 5th, at approximately 2:22 p.m., Oconto Fire and Rescue was dispatched to the Amplify Health by Bellin Oconto Health Hospital for a fire alarm showing water flow in the sprinkler system. Upon arrival, crews entered the building and searched to find water leaking in the shipping and receiving area. The water was traced to a mechanical room that contained air and vacuum compressors. The water was shut off and water was evacuated from the area. The cause of the sprinkler activation is under investigation, but it is believed to have been triggered by an overhead motor for the vacuum system. There were no civilian or responder injuries. And our second one, again, also from Oconto. So on Wednesday, July 9th at 9:10 a.m., the Oconto Fire Department responded to a plastic fabrication company for reports of a fire in a machine at Laterno Plastics Inc. for a water flow alarm. Before firefighters arrived, the alarm company had reportedly confirmed that there was a fire in a machine that was extinguished. Witnesses reported that they were preparing to put out the fire when the sprinkler system was activated, leading to the extinguishing of the fire. One person was taken to a local hospital for treatment of a minor injury. OFRD would like to commend the staff at Laterno Plastics Inc. on their quick response with fire extinguishers, OFRD's release stated. Their rapid response, along with the building being outfitted with a sprinkler system, helped mitigate fire damage to only one machine, which has an estimated value of $500,000. The cause of the fire is under investigation.
I think this is a great story, Kenny. Another great example of how fire sprinklers, when installed and in working order, can truly save those assets of that company.
This is why we're trying to promote the sprinkler saves, because again, there's always a great story behind it. And not only does the sprinkler system help prevent injuries, deaths, and property damage, but it also preserves the fire behind the story and preserves the evidence to be able to learn from the fire that actually started.
Right. And, when they talk about using extinguishers, I bet you the OFRD had some play in that as well, possibly training them on extinguisher usage and contributed to keeping that fire in check.
Our next sprinkler save comes from the Franklin Fire Department. Thank you to Guy Santelli for sending me this one when he saw it on the CBS 58 Facebook page. On Monday, July 14th at approximately 8:55 p.m., the Franklin Fire Department was dispatched to a fire at the Walmart store in the 6700 block of South 27th Street. First arriving companies reported occupants evacuating and heavy smoke throughout the store. The building's automatic sprinkler system had activated and assisted in controlling the spread of the fire and limiting smoke production, allowing for the safe evacuation of all store patrons and employees. No injuries to civilians or first responders were reported. A 10-year-old boy was taken into custody for starting that fire.
I was thinking about the Juvenile Fire Setters Intervention Program. Do you have any update on that, and how can a department become more involved with that organization?
I don't believe this child has gone to court yet, but I'm sure this will be referred to the Franklin Fire Department for the Juvenile Fire Setter Intervention Program. And once the firefighters who are specialists, because I'm sure this kid will be referred by the court to sit through the intervention program, and then the Franklin Fire Department can actually use the Y Fires program. So it's Y, the letter Y, fires.com. And that will help upload all the information regarding this one to help keep track of the problems with juvenile fire setters. And our last one is from the Monona Fire Department. Thank you to the Monona Fire Department for emailing National Fire Sprinkler Association Wisconsin Coordinator Steve Howard the details on this one. On Friday, July 19th at approximately 9:30 p.m., the Monona Fire Department was dispatched to the 800 block of West Broadway for a water flow alarm. As initial units arrived, an active fire was found in the building. The fire was extinguished rapidly due to a swift response from firefighters as well as an operating automatic sprinkler system. A single sprinkler head opened before the fire department arrived and contained the fire to the kitchen. The cause of the fire is under investigation but does not appear suspicious. No injuries or fatalities were reported. There were no occupants home at the time of the fire, and one dog was rescued with no injuries. The apartment was deemed temporarily uninhabitable with 2 occupants and their dog displaced. There is no damage estimated available at the time of the press release.
Well, that's fantastic. Nobody home, but the fire sprinklers keep it in check.
Well, and then again, this is something that Rick and I would talk about regularly. You have a kitchen fire with nobody home, and nothing is listed in the press release about the cause of the fire. However, as we have demonstrated over the last 8 years, that there is a strong possibility that this was a kitchen fire started by unattended cooking. So remember that cooking fires are the number one cause of fires, and unattended cooking is the number one cause of cooking fires.
Well, that's great that Monona reached out to Steve Howard from the National Fire Sprinkler Association. And I got to tell you, I know Steve well, and he is doing a fantastic job of promoting the message of fire sprinklers here in Wisconsin and across the region. He's a great resource for departments to reach out to, and Steve has a mobile trailer that can come out to your department and demonstrate the benefits of a sprinkler system, and that'd be a great opportunity to have your stakeholders in your community come on over and take a look at that too, to help continue to promote the use of fire sprinklers.
Yeah, Steve does a great job of getting those to me as well. So if you have a sprinkler save, either as a fire department or as a sprinkler contractor where you're out servicing it, you can email Steve Howard. So his email is howard@nfsa.org. And the Wisconsin State Fire Inspectors Association is also keeping track of sprinkler saves. Those come to me. So if you have a Wisconsin sprinkler save, you can email sprinklersave@wsfia.org.
We have to give a shout out to Smokey the Bear, 81st birthday, Kenny. Can you believe he is 81 years old?
I cannot believe he's already 81 years old. We grew up with Smokey the Bear,
Yeah.
so he's way older than both of us. And you had something to say about who else could use Smokey the Bear's help.
You know who else could use Smokey the Bear? The folks up in Canada, because I'll tell you, the smoke that's coming our way is not healthy for us, and it is a nuisance. And I think Smokey the Bear could teach them a few things up there. What do you think?
I think that's a fantastic thing for the Canadians, our Canadian friends up north there, eh? So
Yeah, maybe we'll have to start putting a tariff on some of that smoke if they want to continue not controlling those fires.
that could end up being very expensive for them. So, our fellow Canadian brothers and sisters out there, we'll see what happens if they either get tariffed on the smoke or if they become our 51st state.
Yeah.
So created in 1944, the Smokey Bear Wildlife Prevention Campaign is the longest running public service advertising campaign in U.S. history, educating generations of Americans about their role in preventing wildfires. As one of the world's most recognizable characters, Smokey's image is protected by U.S. federal law and is administered by the USDA Fire Service, the National Association of State Foresters, and the Ad Council. Despite the campaign's success over the years, wildfire prevention remains one of the most critical issues affecting our country and, as we pointed out, Canada as well. Smokey's message is as relevant and urgent today as it was in 1944. Smokey's original catchphrase was, "Smokey says, care will prevent 9 out of 10 forest fires." In 1947, it became, "Remember, only you can prevent forest fires." In 2001, it was again updated to its current version of "Only you can prevent wildfires." In response to a massive outbreak of wildfires in natural areas other than forests, and to clarify that Smokey is promoting the prevention of unwanted and unplanned outdoor fires versus prescribed fires. On August 9th, 1944, the creation of Smokey Bear was authorized by the Fire Service, and the first poster was delivered on October 10th by artist Albert Stale. The poster depicted a bear pouring a bucket of water on a campfire. Smokey Bear soon became popular, and his image began appearing on more posters and cards. By 1952, Smokey Bear began to attract commercial interest. An act of Congress passed which removed Smokey from the public domain and placed him under the control of the Secretary of Agriculture. The act provided for the use of collected royalties and fees for continued wildfire prevention education. So again, Smokey the Bear's birthday is on August 9th. For more information on Smokey Bear, you can visit Smokey Bear's website, smokeybear.com.
Happy birthday, Smokey. Since we're nearing the end of summer, we should spend some time talking about flammable and combustible liquid safety. And I got to pause for a moment here, Kenny, and ask you, have you ever had a gas can stored in your garage or your shed over the summer when the heat is building up, and then you go to use that gas can and it's expanded, and then you go to open it up and with these new safety valves on these gas cans, when you go to release the pressure, that gas and the fumes and the liquid goes everywhere. And that is definitely a safety hazard that folks need to keep an eye on.
Right, so they have to always make sure, I think that'll be one of our safety tips near the end, is making sure to store these in a cool, dry place. So not always in a detached garage or in a hot garage. U.S. fire departments respond to approximately 51,000 fires each year involving flammable and combustible liquids. These fires cause an average of 450 deaths, 4,000 injuries, and $1.5 billion in property damage each year. Even breathing gas fumes can be harmful. So like we talked about with Jeremy, talking about that gas can, the fumes are more harmful. So gasoline can be a health hazard if you inhale concentrated fumes for too long or get it on your skin. Symptoms of overexposure to gas vapors include respiratory problems such as coughing and trouble breathing, rash from skin contact with gasoline, irritation or burning in the eyes from gas splashes, dizziness, weakness, numbness in arms and legs or a burning sensation, rapid heartbeat, nausea or vomiting. So here's some safety tips. So never use gasoline or other flammable liquids to start brush fire or bonfires. Never use glass or plastic bottles for gasoline storage. Store gasoline in approved containers in a cool, well-ventilated area, for example, in a shed or garage but never in the house, and only keep a minimum amount on hand. Use gasoline only in well-ventilated areas. Turn off equipment and let cool before filling the gas tank. Never use gasoline to start charcoal on a grill. Use proper charcoal starter. Never use gas as a cleaning fluid or solvent or to clean your hands. Don't store gas cans in your vehicle. And don't smoke or use matches, lighters, or other ignition sources anywhere around gasoline. And remember that gas vapors can travel far from gas containers in enclosed areas.
All right, Kenny. So what's coming up in August and September for community risk reduction?
All right, so for August, we've got Medic Alert Awareness Month, National Back to School Month. So tune into the show when we will talk with City of Brookfield Fire Department Community Risk Reduction Officer Michelle Garcia about back to school safety. So Michelle has a school background before she was in the fire service, so that'll be a great conversation. National Immunization Awareness Month, National Wellness Month, National Water Quality Month, and August 3rd through the 9th is National Stop on Red Week. For September, we have Campus Fire Safety Month, so tune in when we talk to University of Wisconsin Fire Inspector Mitch Sutter about on-campus and off-campus fire safety issues. Food Education Month, National Preparedness Month, Baby Safety Month, National Atrial Fibrillation Awareness Month, National Recovery Month, National Childhood Injury Prevention Week, which is September 1st through the 7th, National Suicide Prevention Week, which is September 7th through the 13th. Another one for September, C-Trax Think Train Week, which was formerly Rail Safety Week, so that's September 15th to the 21st. National Child Passenger Safety Week, September 21st to the 27th. National Farm Safety and Health Week, September 21st through the 27th. Falls Prevention Awareness Week, September 22nd through the 26th. Fire Door Safety Week, which is September 22nd to the 26th, but that's only in the United Kingdom. We really should have a Fire Door Safety Week to show the importance of those fire doors. And last, we have Wife Appreciation Day, which is September 21st. That's the third Sunday in September. But, as Jeremy and I know, every day should be Wife Appreciation Day.
365 days a year, I'll tell you. And I am, Kenny, you have a lot of going on here in August and September nationally with all these special days here. But I will say the most important one, I would say, is the last one here, Wife Appreciation Day. Make it every day. All right, Kenny, it looks like we're going to be wrapping up here, and I just wanted to again say thanks for having me on the show, and I think you continue to do a great job, and again, spreading the message of safety and outreach to the community and the region is your specialty, and we appreciate that.
Thanks, Jeremy, for being my guest host this month. WPLG715 Fireman Kenny is returning to quarters.
Working together with first responders throughout Southeast Wisconsin, you can help keep our communities safe. They answer the call to be there for you whenever needed. Sherwin Industries proudly salutes our first responders. Here's another important message on 1029 The Hog.
I'm Lieutenant Ken Jankowski from the North Shore Fire Department. Fire departments across this great nation of ours respond to thousands of fires each year involving flammable and combustible liquids. These fires on average cause 450 deaths, over 4,000 injuries, and $1.5 billion in property damage each year. If you're thinking about having the occasional bonfire, remember to never use gasoline or any other flammable liquid to get those started. If you're out grilling and your charcoal is hot, never add lighter fluid. Whenever we need to fill our lawnmowers, leaf blowers, or weed eaters with gasoline, make sure that we do that when those engines are cool and in an open area. And lastly, if you need to store flammable liquids around your house, in your garage, or in your shed, always remember to use approved containers.
1029 The Hog and Sherwin Industries are proud to salute our first responders. Get more information and links to first responders throughout Southeast Wisconsin online now at 1029thehog.com.